It's a bit so late last night.
Welcome back, football fans, to another episode of Necessary Roughness right here on the Bite Size Sports Network. I'm your host, John Boyd, joined as always by Nick Wintergrad and Zach Keebler. Nate will be hopping on with us shortly, hopefully, and we're gonna talk about the whole league, but all four of our teams lost, so you know the tone might not be particularly upbeat when we get to those games, but stick around for it. The first thing we want to cover, however, is an unfortunate aspect of this violent sport that we just can't get enough of, and that's the injury report. A lot of big ones, actually, for week one. We're just going to cover what I have, it's probably the four biggest um, as far as impact goes from last week's slate. So first, we're going to start with J.K. Dobbins. This one's particularly unfortunate because it just seems like this guy just can't stay healthy, and these are bad luck, freak accident injuries. Um, and he looked really good too for the couple of quarters he played. Nick, what are your thoughts on the J.K. Dobbins injury, its potential impact on Baltimore going forward, and just your initial gut reaction?
Yeah, just really unfortunate. I mean, I feel like we always see this with Baltimore. They always put together a really good team. Harbaugh, they're
Hmm.
gonna be somewhat, competitive, if not very competitive. They're gonna win the division every year. They're always in it, and just like you talk about teams hitting the injury bug. Like, oh well, we hit, the injury bug hit us early in the year. We'll get over. We'll get guys. It hits them every year. It's brutal. I don't know how this happens. It's sad. They I don't know. It's ever since Lamar's MVP year, it's just bad luck. It really has
Hmm.
been. J.K. is somebody who embodies the running back position. He's fantastic. Everybody had really high hopes coming, out of college. Now I think he's had this injury twice, if I'm not mistaken. And
You might be right. I thought it was an ACL though the last time.
Yeah, the first time was ACL.
oh
I think
no,
this
that's
time
even
was
worse. Like
Similar
similar, yeah. Like I
severity.
mean,
Yeah.
it's really brutal. I feel so bad. And then of course, we'll get into the other Raven that got hurt too on the other side of the ball. It's brutal. I feel horrible about all of these injuries that happened so early in the season. Um, and for a contender, it's and especially Lamar who needs a running game to help him be able to run the football and hit his guys. So it's just it makes everything a lot tougher. Harbaugh is going to tell you that we got guys to step up and stuff like that, but losing a guy like J.K. Dobbins, a locker room guy, it's a culture guy, and it's a big blow.
Yeah, heartbreaker. You'll probably see Justice Hill take most of the majority of the snaps, at least early on. Maybe a little Gus Edwards action.
Yeah,
Um, we saw him end up with Kenyon Drake late last year. They might bring on another vet or elevate somebody else, but yeah, it's a tough blow. Especially when you finally got a new OC for Lamar, and now you're a little hamstrung again with the injury bug. Um,
yep.
for the next injury I want to cover, this is probably the biggest news across the league, and it's Aaron Rodgers with the same injury as J.K. Dobbins on his fourth snap as a New York Jet. Uh, Keebler, when you saw that injury, did it did it seem serious to you right away, or were you kind of waiting to hear on it? Because it was kind of weird. Um, he just kind of landed awkwardly. It wasn't a great angle on it, and it's tough to tell with an Achilles. He started walking off on his own, ended up getting helped. And beyond that, how does that change your opinion on the Jets for the season going forward? And how seriously you take them?
at first, just looking at like the replay when they originally showed it, I didn't really think it was like that serious of an injury. I thought he just like tweaked his ankle a little bit, but seeing him stand up and then all of a sudden just sit down and
Yeah.
be hurt, um, that was the point where I was like, yeah, this isn't just an ankle. Like you're talking about arguably the most talented quarterback to ever play the position. Um, coming in on like a revenge tour essentially, and then just again 75 seconds is all he had in a Jets career, and then he tears his Achilles. So I'm not high on Zach Wilson. I have not been high on him since he's been drafted. I know he was a top pick, but I think he played a good game, but I don't see him really continuing that success. He was a guy that even though he was a starting quarterback last year, he wasn't even a top 30 quarterback in the league. Just plain and simple. That being said, I think that he has the right weapons around him this year to where he can be a solid game manager. But he's not going to be a guy that can lead a comeback or give you that like crazy energy that you need. I don't know. For the Jets, I think that this definitely does bump them down a win or two in my book. I know their defense is still very solid, but again, not having a two-time or a back-to-back MVP 2 seasons ago is really going to hurt you, I feel like, especially given all the hype that was around him. In a Jets uniform, following that Favre legacy kind of thing. Yeah, it's a pretty brutal blow.
And just to follow John, just to follow him, it's not only as he said, we probably expected like 9 to 12 the Jets, or like 10 to 12 wins with Aaron. And even if Zach can get them, and it wouldn't really be him, it would be like everybody. If they can get to like that, which is not impossible with how talented a roster they have, it's really the playoffs. It's Aaron Rodgers would have helped them in the play. Being that Hall of Fame quarterback that you need with a veteran, he's got everything when it comes to that. Zach Wilson has none of it. He has no playoff experience. So I think that even if the Jets still, win their fair share of games because of how talented their roster is, when they get to that playoff spot, if they get to it, that's really when you're going to see the probably implode. Whereas if they had Aaron Rodgers, they have that veteran presence, they have that Hall of Famer. I've won a Super Bowl. I've been here a lot of times. That's it's going to change if they do make the playoffs.
Yeah, you saw it on Salah's face. They showed him the minute A-Rod went down, and it was just you could see it. You bring the OC over for Aaron, you bring Lazard over for Aaron. You shape the whole offense around him, and it just is extremely unfortunate for that Jets team, who by the way look phenomenal on every other facet of the roster. The offensive line was a little shaky, but Garrett Wilson, Jesus Christ, that catch on the goal line fade. What was that? I don't think I've ever seen a catch like that where he puts one hand out, he's tangled up with his left, sort of just bats it and keeps it in the air and brings it in with that same hand on Trey White.
Who was the receiver that made that catch in the Super Bowl? Seahawks Pats. Was it?
Oh, Jermaine Kearse.
It was Jermaine Kearse on the right side. Yeah, basically that was. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but just it was so like the throw was a little ahead of him. It wasn't quite back shoulder, but he kind of he put it on his back shoulder.
Yeah,
and just tapped it over there.
Also,
super sweet.
Sorry to cut you off. Nathan's ready to
You're good.
Drag back in. There we go.
Yeah, and the defense was phenomenal. We'll dive into the game a little bit more, the game itself anyway. But yeah, it's really tough for the Jets because the rest of the roster looks like it could really contend. So they might go with Z Willie. They might go, bring Flacco back into the building.
Oh God,
he's just sitting on his couch.
Colin Kaepernick's agent reached out when he hasn't played a game in 7 years.
Kaepernick's agent reached out. I saw
RG3's interested. I heard.
That's awesome. Get him off TV. That'd be great. But somebody said something funny. They should trade for Mike White back. That would be so hilarious if they just brought him back.
No, because, I can't.
Just trade Zach for Mike White.
Yeah, but they might find a vet. We'll see. But if it's Zach Wilson, let us know in the comments down below how far you think he can take what is a pretty good Jets roster. Did I freeze for you guys again?
Yeah, you froze, John.
Yeah, sure.
Unbelievable. Okay. I'm gonna hop back out. But I wanted to touch on Cam Hayward needs groin surgery for Pittsburgh, and Jack Conklin out with a knee for Cleveland. If you want to give your thoughts on those injuries right away, and I'll be right back.
Zach, I was gonna say just one more thing is, the thing about like the whole trade back for Mike White or now it's the old Jets. Like that, the whole thing was that they're like new now. Like that was the whole thing. And we're back to Zach. Like I literally saw a video. Like Jets fans are like, I'm watching Zach Wilson again. What the fuck? like what? Like this is not what, like you weren't supposed to hear this guy's name all year. You were supposed to just sit on the bench. Robert Saleh's like, sit the hell on the bench. You suck. Got Aaron Rodgers, and now Saleh's like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, get back in the game. Like, it's
unbelievable. I spent all year last year just harping on Zach Wilson, just making my friend who's a Jets fan know how bad his quarterback is, and now he's back. No, like you said, it's comical. It's supposed to be the new Jets with the legend himself bringing them to the promised land, but now you have Zach Wilson who can throw a football 20% of the time where he needs it to be. I mean, he still pulled off a win against the Bills, so like good for him, but like that's one game. It's not an entire season, and I feel like watching enough Zach Wilson tape, you're going to be able to pick up on his tendencies and just absolutely dismantle him defensively.
Yeah, I mean, he beat us last year too. Like, he also got benched, I think, the next week. Like,
yeah,
I don't care about that.
But that being said, with the Cam Hayward news, that is a brutal blow to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have a guy that can completely dismantle a line and then actually I'm thinking of the right guy, right? He's D-line?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have a guy who can absolutely rip through an offensive line and put pressure on the quarterback in like less than seconds, and now you're going to lose him to a groin injury when your team, you have, in my opinion, a top 5 defense in the league with him healthy, an amazing pass rush, and it's just you lose that key factor. And TJ Watt can't carry the rush the entire time. So that line is just gonna have to shape up. But yeah, that's an absolutely brutal blow.
Yeah, that one's a huge bummer. I love Cam. I love the Steelers this year. Everybody knows that. They've still got, it'll be interesting to see what they can get out of Keanu Benton, with a little more attention on him, a rookie out of Wisconsin who I liked a lot coming out. Big Larry Ogunjobi's there. The rest of that edge rotation looks ridiculous with Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig. Marcus Golden looks pretty good. So that's still probably the strength of the unit, but it was, one of the best defensive lines in football. And now that's a little bit more questionable when you don't have that game wrecker on the interior. Like I said, we'll see if Benton can step up a little bit. But it's for them, it's kind of the second level too, with like a Landon Roberts and Cole Holcomb, and a guy like Cam Hayward helps those guys out a lot too, eating blocks up. So it's a tough blow, and he is also a huge leader in that building, locker room guy, similar to really all these injuries that we've seen. So that's a bummer. Let's get into something slightly more positive, because we're going to start with a game in which none of our favorite teams played.
I thought you were about to take a giant shot at me for all the Vikings talk that I give.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about how much better 40-3 is than 40-0 in a little bit, but that they kicked our ass last year too. It's a tough team. But we're going to talk about mostly the Patriots, but a little bit of the Philadelphia Eagles as well. The reason I say that is because I kind of feel like we know what the Eagles are. There wasn't much turnover on that roster. A lot of what we're looking out for is what they get from Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, the rest of that rookie class. And a lot of those additions were along the margins. Rashad Penny was inactive for this game. So we'll see if he adds anything when he's back into the fray. But for the most part, we know what they are. And if they are who we think they are, the Patriots just played a hell of a football game. We thought they might match up well. I think it was Brett Coleman I was listening to who cited that in some of their difficult games, the Philly offense anyway, some of the more difficult games last year were against a lot of man coverage, a lot of middle field closed coverages with a single high safety. And that's Patriots defense. This was like the Colts last year, who almost got one over on them. They struggled against the Cardinals. And that's the Patriots came out and played really, really tough defense, forcing the one turnover. It was, they really held their own too against the Philly trenches. Started off terribly. I think it was 16-0 early. But they fought back and made it a pretty close game. Nick, you're there in your division. Seeing that, is that kind of what you expect out of the Patriots, to just play up to the competition, play you tough, or did you think they were going to kind of get smoked and now maybe you're taking them a little more seriously?
No, the first one. When it's Bill Belichick, he's a mastermind. We know this. Probably the greatest coach of all time. He's like the NBA equivalent of Greg Popovich. Even if his team isn't the most equipped, they're not the most talented, he still has a good plan. And
yeah,
I just think that, yeah, they got off to a bad start, but the comeback wasn't too surprising. I mean, like, Jalen Hurts, like at work, I have a couple Eagles fans. They were saying Jalen played like trash. Like he looked like he was rookies again. He didn't know if he wanted to pass, if he wanted to throw. That's kind of what he was doing early on in his career. And obviously last year he got away from that because he got A.J. Brown and they got, all stuff. They got better. He got better. He's now regarded as a top 3-4 quarterback. But when you play New England, usually you look a little worse, especially younger. Belichick usually does that to you. He's not just the greatest coach of all time because he was able to, have Brady and win Super Bowls. Like, he knows what he's doing. So especially on defense. So he had a really good plan for Jalen, and they did not play their best game at all. The Patriots probably did, kind of like that. I don't really know what else they could do. Mac Jones is not the answer. He's not going to be. They're going to have to find some other option there. And I mean, they're just not very talented offensively at all. But yeah, on that defense, they have a lot of players. So, speaking of that, Judon and all these safeties running around, they really had Jalen Hurts, struggling a little bit. But, if they're not going to win the game, I don't think Belichick even cares about any of them. So,
yeah. I actually picked the Pats to win, just for that reason. I thought Week 1 Patriots, you give Bill a couple months out of the summer to put a game plan together. From a schematic standpoint, he's almost always going to push the right buttons, and they're going to muck things up. They're going to make games ugly, and they're going to thrive under those circumstances. So I wasn't particularly surprised by it either. That AFC East is probably the best division in football. It's
only one team are good, but yeah.
There's all 4 teams are good.
I mean, I can't necessarily agree with that, but if it's a pretty good division, I would still take I'd still take the AFC North.
Yeah.
The East personally.
That's a toss up for me, yeah. Because I think if you talk about the worst team in the division, what you might say is the Patriots. That's probably either the Steelers or maybe the Ravens to most folks in the other division, and then, but the Dolphins looked really good. Those are definitely the 2 best divisions in football, for my money. Any concern at all for Philly coming out of that one? Anybody?
I wouldn't say concern. Just my opinion on the game. It's not the Eagles that we're used to seeing from last year. Maybe that's due to just off-season rust. Maybe that's due to the Patriots having a great defensive game. But yeah, no, like Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback than 67% completion percentage, 170 yards, and 1 touchdown. Like, again, it could be an off game for him. It could just be the Patriots were playing at that level that we're used to seeing.
That stat line doesn't sound that bad. Like,
it's not bad. I mean, compared to a lot of
they weren't giving them the long stuff.
Yeah, and that's what you build.
But also a game where Jalen Hurts has almost half of your rushing attempts when you use DeAndre Swift 1 time in the run game. You have Devontae being held to 47 yards on 7 receptions. You have A.J. Brown being held to 79 yards on 7 receptions. It's just, I feel like it's more rust than anything. So I feel given them being our division rivals, we're going to see a lot better games than that from them. But yeah, no, kudos to the Patriots. I know they lost, but like they still played a pretty solid game.
Yeah, it was a good showing for them, and yeah, I don't think there's a ton of panic for Philly. I'm sure they'll straighten it out, but they won't on this Thursday. I'm going to tell you that right now. Another thing coming. Next, let's talk the game of the week. In my humble opinion, and probably most, there were some pretty ugly contests this week, but one that was fun to watch was the Dolphins and the Chargers. 36-34 was the final.
Tua with 466 passing yards.
Tua with 466, 5th on the Dolphins' all-time passing, single game passing record list. He actually had more yards in that Ravens game early last season. And we got Justin Herbert in the chat. This is perfect. So my question for you all on the panel, you all in the chat, in the comments below, did this game to you say more about the offenses of these teams or the defenses of these teams? Because these are 2 Fangio defenses. The Dolphins brought Fangio himself in. And then, of course, you got Staley, a Fangio disciple, calling the Chargers defense. And Fangio defenses didn't do well across the league last year. But these are 2 teams that feel like they have the personnel to operate. But do you feel like this is just 2 really good offenses? Or do you think these are a couple of defenses who wet the bed a little bit? And go ahead, Nick.
Sorry. I would say this is more of a 2 really good offenses here rather than these defenses are not going to be good. I mean, I feel like the Chargers are probably going to be upper middle pack, and the Dolphins are probably around there too. Just because I feel like there's a handful of better defenses around, but both offenses are absolutely phenomenal. Probably 2 of the top 5 offenses in the league, in my opinion, with Miami having a claim to be the number 1 offense in the league. So I wouldn't worry if I'm a Chargers fan or a Dolphins fan. I wouldn't worry too much about the defense, to be honest with you. There's obviously some other concerns that come out of this game, such as how is Austin Eckler going to be moving forward? Because he's day to day, last I saw. But I wouldn't, if I were a fan of either team, I wouldn't be too upset about it, to be honest, or too concerned, I guess would be the better way to describe it.
Sure. I think you probably feel more of that if you're thinking about Staley. I think with Miami, you've got plenty of talent there. You do on both defenses, but this is year 3 under Brandon Staley now, and he did make a good decision, it looks like, to go get Kellen Moore and field the same 11 starters on offense. I think that was a good adjustment. You've got talent there. You add QJ into the mix. But that defense really hasn't come around, and now you're going to have Bosa and Mack healthy to start a season. You got J.C. Jackson back. These are, I saw your Eric Kendricks injury comment. Don't worry, but the excuses are starting to evaporate on the defensive side of the ball for the Chargers, in my opinion. I think you've got a fix for the offense. I think Kellen Moore is going to call great games. I think he's going to tune Justin Herbert up a little bit in the aggressiveness department. But I think he'll still play conscientiously. He'll still play well against pressure. But with the concern for the Chargers, I think, is more on the coverage side. The front got decent pressure. It was like a 55% pressure rate for the team. It just didn't matter. Tua was dialed. Mike McDaniel was effing dialed. Guys much smarter than me figured out basically what he corrected from the rough game against the Chargers last year with his motion with Tyreek, shortened up the motion, put Chargers DBs in precarious positions all game, and just leveraged that speed. That's just going to be tough to stop with Miami. If McDaniel's able to scheme them up the way he's shown the ability to, no one can contend with the speed of Hill and Jalen Waddle. So if you're not out scheming those guys, you have no shot. And if Tua can get it far enough down the field, which, by the way, he was throwing a couple frozen ropes yesterday, particularly over the middle. But, it's going to be a really, really tough team to stop. That was one of the most impressive showings, I think, from any one unit. That Dolphins offense looked really, really good. Justin Herbert, feel free to keep the Eckler. Okay, gotcha. But yeah, feel free to keep the Chargers comments rolling in, but we are going to move on to another game.
Can I make a quick real quick?
Go for it.
I was gonna say, I think it was both an offensive showing, but it also shows like how both teams picked apart each other's defense. So I agree that yes, it was great offensively, but it showed both teams have quite a few flaws in their defense. You have the Dolphins, who just acquired Jalen Ramsey, and you're giving up 34 points. So
He didn't play.
Didn't play.
Well,
Also,
whatever.
He's gonna be out for how long is he out for? He's out for like a month and a half.
I didn't even know he was injured, so that's on me. But
yeah,
when Tyreek has just about the same amount of receiving yards as your quarterback has passing yards, that's where you start to have a little bit of a problem. Like you said, guarding Tyreek's speed is definitely something teams have to look out for, and you almost can't unless because you play him back, he'll just do short routes. If you press him too far up, he'll just blow by you. So it's just a matter of figuring out what position you can do on that. And then I didn't like how the Chargers were using Keenan Allen as like a Deebo Samuel type of thing. When they gave him 2 running plays, that's not really his style, and he doesn't fit it. But outside of that, yeah, that was definitely game of the week.
Yeah, no, it was a fun one. Another interest. So the Pats might be a little better than some people thought, but another team that might be better than a lot of people thought is the Rams. Are the Rams good? Okay. How about just first? We'll go around the horn. Are the Rams good?
I would say yes. I think last year was a down year for them.
They might be good.
Once they get, correct me if I'm wrong, Stafford played, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, Cup is out.
Yeah, but he
Yeah,
didn't
no
have
Cup.
Cup. So, yeah, Stafford was injury riddled last year. So was Cup. So they were losing 2 of their biggest guys. Once Cup comes back, I see them. They're not going to go back to being that Super Bowl contending team that they were when they, won the Super Bowl. But I think that they're definitely not really a joke as they were last year.
Everybody buy your Puka Nakua stock while it's low. Go ahead, Nate. Are you sold on the Rams? Do you think it was just kind of one of those fluke interdivision games where the underdog can get a decided victory? Do you think the Rams are going to make any noise?
I think if Stafford stays healthy, I think the Rams will be fine, to be honest with you. Just, obviously they've got some concerns along the lines with Cup, among other things. But, I think they could be a solid wild card team based on how they looked. So it'll be real interesting to see if the injury bug, aside from Cup, will stay away from them. I got to say I did drop some dimes on Puka to get him off the waiver wire in a couple of leagues, so we'll see how that goes tomorrow.
I put my claim in expeditiously as well. I'm waiting to see what I can get. I probably won't get him. But yeah, Puka Nakua, you could see the vision with this draft pick early on because BYU ran a very, very similar offense to the McVay. Puka Nakua was pretty much that Robert Woods role, and he slid right into that in the NFL. Looked really good. So yeah, Cup Schmup, Michael says, you might really have a decent second weapon there. You saw a little bit more Skoranek. The offensive line held up pretty well. Stafford looked really sharp. So I don't know, man. Nick, what was your takeaway from that game overall? How do you feel about the Rams? Are you worried about the Seahawks?
I'm going to go in a different direction than you guys did. I'm not on LA. I think that they kind of took advantage of a Seahawks team that's going to be very good this year. I'm not worried about the Seahawks. But they kind of took advantage of a team that might have gotten a little too amped up, a little too excited. The Bills, my Bills did that 2 years ago. We had a home game against the Steelers, who were porous. And we did not play well. We lose, but just like the other day, I know, like yesterday.
I remember
and
that.
I think that happened to Seattle. I think that they got a little too amped up. Like we got a home opener. The Rams suck now. Like that's what happened. Like you get a little too excited, and then all of a sudden you look at the scoreboard and you didn't do anything good today. Like it just happens. I think the Seahawks is going to have to bounce back in a big way next week in the coming weeks, which I have no issue. I think that he'll completely do that without an issue. I just don't have any faith in Stafford staying healthy. As Nate just said, like, if he stays healthy all year, yeah, I mean, like, I guess they could make it hard just because of how bad the NFC is. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I kind of have an issue with that happening. I don't really believe in it. Cup, like, are you not going to play? Like, what's up? Like, you have, like, this Triple Crown year, and then, like, that's it? Bye? Like, is that it? Like, what? I'm
strained. He's day to day.
I don't know, dude. Like, I need to see these guys. Like, hello, are you back? You're not. You're still injured. Rams put him on IR. I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, you gotta play.
Before his Triple Crown year, he still had these injury problems. He just managed to stay healthy 1 year and then go for the Triple Crown.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really buy into their healthy. Them being healthy. Obviously they have Sean McVay, who's a fantastic coach. Aaron Donald's getting up in their age. They lose Leonard Floyd. They lose Von Miller last year. Like, it's kind of going the other way still to me. I think that one win in Seattle doesn't change it.
What about Michael Hoyt?
What about him?
No love for Michael Hoyt? Filling in.
Not after 1 week. Not after 1 week.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of there with I still like Seattle. I like them to win the division preseason, but
yeah,
that pass rush looked really.
You think they're going to win the division?
I did.
San Fran's going to win 15 games, though. So.
That was my pick to win the division after week 1. That looks a little rocky.
Just because it's San
Fran.
But
I think we'll see them level out a little bit. But hey, we'll see. I like the Rams just being competitive. I think that makes it a lot more interesting than them just kind of being a shell of their former selves. I think Stafford healthy, McVay engaged, and you'll get a lot of opportunity to go around for a lot of these young guys on the roster that made the roster look really shitty for the average viewer who hasn't seen them do anything at the NFL level. They fielded, I think, 37. It might have even been 47 rookies on their 90-man. Something just absurd. I think it was 37. But I know a lot of them are getting significant playing time. So, you could see a lot of growth from that group, and they might feel a little bit better going forward. But, Colby knows about Michael Hoyt.
My boy Colby.
Colby gets it.
I just think for the Rams, like they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then they have a really down year with all the injuries. I think that they haven't evened out of those 2 seasons. It's like kind of in the middle. Crazy. They're not going to be bad. I'm not sold on them being like good. So that was the question. They're not like they'll be like an 8 to 9 win team. Like that kind of doesn't do anything in this NFL now. Like that's great. You won 9 games, but like you also don't really want to win 9 games because now you're kind of in that middle round where we don't really know if we're good. We might be kind of like mid. Like I don't know. That's kind of where I see them. They might snag a playoff spot and play Seattle in the first round. Good, then I would be saying like, yeah, they're good. They'll win 11 games. I don't see that.
All right. Well, we're gonna go to Nate here, and our next sort of segment, if you want to call it that, is just kind of the rocky starts. I've got 5 teams I've got 6 teams I want to talk about in kind of a little rapid fire fashion. When there are teams, one of us can kind of tell the story. I'm sure we watch those games more closely than the rest of us. But we're going to start with Nate and his Chicago Bears. If Michael's still in the chat, maybe he could add some insight for us.
Nah, we're good. We don't need his insight.
A little bit. But Nate, what did you see, that led to this loss? What were the, issues? But then try and end your rant with something a little positive that you took away that you can project with a little bit next week.
Oh man, where do I start here? Well, first half looked fine. Offensive line still looks like absolute dog shit, which is super unfortunate, especially since they spent a pick and signed some players on the line. After all this talk in the offseason, I got to say, maybe people think it's too early, but Luke Getsy needs fired. Matt, I can't even say his goddamn last name, needs fired. The offensive coordinator needs fired. And frankly, at this point, just cut most everybody. There's a few people that can still stick around, but there were multiple instances of pathetic play. There was a little snippet video floating around of Chase Claypool and his effort on Sunday, and it was just absolutely fucking atrocious. I wasn't so upset with that trade last year just because it's like, the season's kind of a wash. Just try and build some confidence and, a connection there. But it doesn't look like jack shit has happened for Chase Claypool. So, thanks for wasting a second-round fucking pick, almost a first-round pick, really, at this
32.
And this is just a general thing I have, but with them going down to 3 preseason games, I think people need to play more in preseason games. Because Fields didn't play one game. He didn't play most of another. He was doing dumb shit in the backfield all the time. There were several points in the game where there was people downfield open. It's just like he dumps it off or just takes off. I mean that isn't helped by the line, folding like paper cheese or anything like that. But I, I mean, one of the big things on him was his arm strength, and he had a real great deep ball, but that's not obviously being shown. I will say this though, I did see somebody, I think, tweet. I didn't actually see the grade, so I can't tell you one way or another. But I did see someone say that Justin Fields' PFF grade was higher than Jordan Love's, for what it's worth. Not that I'm a big fan of PFF to begin with, but somebody can check me on that one. I just happened to see that. There were still some positives out of it. I mean, Rashawn Johnson looked really good in the second half. He looks like he might be potentially a bright spot moving forward. So there's still some promise to be out of it. But another big issue for me is I honestly think they just need to change up the defensive scheme at this point, because this lack of blitzing, weak cover two, soft coverage thing is just not going to work. I mean, in the second half, the adjustments that the Packers made, they could move the ball at will and do whatever the hell they wanted without much interference there. So it's not as worse as last year, but it looks like it didn't really fucking improve whatsoever. Or I should say, didn't really improve that much.
Sure.
My bias, full bias here, but that's why I picked the Packers Falcons as one of the games I'm interested, or games of the week potentially this upcoming week, because as soft as the Bears looked on defense there, I mean, I'll be interested to see how Jordan Love does against a better unit, personally. But we'll see coming up here this week, moving forward. Obviously, the Bears have got a lot of stuff that they need to work on, but I just don't trust it with this coaching staff in place, unfortunately, at this point, and it's time to move on from them. It's also time for the McCaskey family to sell the goddamn team, because
get everybody out.
They're not Reinsdorf levels, but they're quite incompetent, and things aren't going to change unless people stop going to games, and that just doesn't seem like it's going to happen in Chicago.
Wow, man! I see. That's why I love having a local fan on for these type of things, because I didn't know things were on fire.
Yeah, I didn't either at all, by the way. When you said house
it was a rough week. A couple little nuggets for you before we jump into the Giants.
Oh boy.
A couple little nuggets for you. Justin Fields, 3.1 air yards per attempt on Sunday.
Oh God.
Rough. Chicago defense. I have been telling everybody who will listen all offseason, this is the worst defensive line I've ever seen. And I've been telling everybody it didn't get better. Bears as a team, 10% pressure rate on Sunday. To give you a little bit of context and a little bit of a segue, the Cowboys had a 69.4% pressure rate against the Giants, and 7 sacks to boot. Yannick Ngakoue did have a sack for the Bears.
He looked pretty good in the first half.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, Eberflus in Indianapolis, like, I mean, those defenses were pretty good. But part of the problem is they had guys, like Shaq Leonard, Kenny Moore, like all these guys doing really good. And the Bears don't have that, where they can just sit back and let things come to them.
Because we like the second and third levels of that defense, actually. I know a lot of us like the young DBs, a couple good moves at linebacker, but
That's
just to Josh's comment here.
right. That's why I would have been interested in seeing, obviously things change now with him signing a 1-year deal. But off the field stuff aside, I would have been interested to see what a deal could have been done to get Chris Jones if it had continued on there. Because that would have been.
Oh, you know who looked good though was Jalen Carter. Oh wait, you didn't take Jalen Carter. Never mind.
I get that, but there was just way too many holes, and we still need offensive line help.
I'm with you.
That was such a low blow from nowhere. Jesus Christ.
They could have had Jalen Carter. I don't know. But
it also didn't help not having Tevin Jenkins out there on the line. So
Tevin was rough. Yeah, that's a rough loss. He's been good.
It just at the time, like we can have all 2020 hindsight vision here, but at the time with everything that came out and everything that was going on with Jalen Carter and the fact that there were concerns about effort and things like that, I mean, I still think it was okay to make the decision to trade the pick and get an offensive tackle, and I will continue to stick by that. I mean, people want to think about it in hindsight, but like in the time frame, that's why I'm not so as upset about the Trubisky trade either. I mean, it was still a dumb trade, but it's not like, aside from Fred Warner, it's not like the 49ers did a damn thing with any of those picks really at all.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Next, we're going to jump to the G-Men and our good buddy Zach Keebler. What are you on this game? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about the team? How are you feeling about everything?
So I have a list of things that went good.
Perfect.
And I'm just going to show you. And I'm just going to show you the list of like things that went good. That's the list.
Oh, okay.
So essentially,
I have a similar list.
It was Micah Parsons' playground. He was just tearing up our line. He would get to Daniel Jones in about 0.1 seconds.
Even when doubled.
Yeah, even when doubled, he would just rip right through us. Evan Neal should be in the XFL.
I thought he was good.
He was supposed to be. He's not. So yeah, Evan Neal should be in the XFL. I really liked when we made the decision this offseason to incorporate Saquon Barkley more into like our passing game, and then he's just out there dropping pass after pass. That was one of my favorite things. He had a few bright spots on the run, but there's not many positives to say. The Cowboys, I think, have the best pass rush in the league, and it's not and it's not particularly close. You have a guy in Dexter Lawrence that should be eating through the Cowboys O-line, yet he's being stopped pretty easily by Zach Martin, who I get was an all-pro in his prime, but he's old as shit now. What else can I say? Our receivers suck. Our wide receiver 1 is Isaiah Hodgins / Paris Campbell. Slayton looked good for the touches he got. I guess that's the one bright spot I can say. Darius Slayton can catch a football. So,
did you catch Chris Collinsworth catch him say that Darren Waller's like LeBron? I don't know if you saw that.
No, but Darren Waller
did. Now you got LeBron. I was like, what?
Darren Waller did look decent, but let me pull up this stat because I don't want to get it wrong on behalf of Daniel Jones, who just got paid $40 million this offseason, by the way.
They should put Collinsworth in a home.
So
he said that Darren Waller was the equivalent of LeBron. I was like, wait.
Yeah, that just
sounds weird stuff.
That's not true by any stretch of the imagination.
I was like, wait, what?
However, let me just make sure.
I missed his career, brother.
Let me just make sure I have this correct. Daniel Jones finished the game with 104 passing yards and led the league in interceptions for about 24 hours.
Shut up.
With 2 of them. And
Yes.
yes,
Got it.
Saquon averaged 4.2 yards a carry. That's not very best running back in the league of you holding out
He never
for a
was,
giant
by the
paycheck
way.
and then not being able to run whatsoever. Matt Breida got 2 carries, and then Waller, as I expected, led the team in receiving yards with a whopping 36.
Oh
LeBron.
boy.
BJ, bro.
So I don't think it was necessarily on Daniel Jones. I think our offensive line needs a lot of work, as was shown last year also. Evan Neal needs to do something, or just get the off my team.
HP double hockey sticks off my. He
The
also made a pretty dumb
my other
decision there
thing,
when he threw
the
that pick.
defense. Adoree Jackson was playing in the slot, which he never has his entire career.
What happened to Cordell Slot?
They were trying to move
Horrible.
out Isaiah Simmons instead of finding where he's going to play good.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Just overall, very poor performance. And I think that blocked field goal for the Cowboys for their first touchdown of the season really impacted the momentum right from the jump. When that first drive, we looked very solid for
Able to run the ball.
for 3
Hey,
seconds.
they looked really good. I was like,
We looked really good for 3 seconds until the MVP, Graham Gano, just gets blocked on a field goal and then taken back to the house. It's just not good. So sorry about the rant for sounding off on that, but I think that
That's what you're supposed to do, man.
I feel like we
That's what
should
it's all
have an
about.
easy week. Take the Giants -4 against the Cardinals. That's all I gotta say.
I don't know, man. I mean, the Cardinals looked better than I thought that they were going to. So, you know, I mean, you might have to take the Cardinals +4.
Nah, I don't agree. I think that Dable will have to like slaughter Arizona. I do. I really do. I actually think that it'll be like 31-10. But it's just me.
Okay.
But yeah, that was my rant about the Giants. But I feel like this should be an easy week.
That's Zach's rant about the Giants. They got an easy bounce back against Arizona. If you see them sputter next week, that's when I think real concern starts to creep in.
That's when you're going to find me probably on the side of the road in a box from losing a ton of money and not having a home.
The slope will get slippery with a loss to the Cardinals. Nick, let's talk about the real New York team.
We just talked about the Giants.
What's your initial feeling coming away from that game? There was, of course, a lot of Josh Allen miscues. 3 picks to Jordan Whitehead. The F it Jordan Whitehead's down there somewhere tweets were rolling in from all angles. And then there was also the once the Jets tied it up at 13 on that ridiculous Garrett Wilson fade we talked about, Josh got absolutely decked by Michael Clemens and fumbled and allowed them to go ahead and take the lead. So what are your thoughts on that with Rodgers going down and still taking a loss to a team that you were ready for a dogfight with? Preseason, you probably might have said it could have gone either way. But with Rodgers going down 4 plays in, how do you feel about not being able to get that win? And what are your thoughts going forward? What do you take away positively?
I've talked about this all day. But I have my thoughts, but like they keep changing too. So, prayers up to Aaron Rodgers because I was so upset to see that happen. I'm sure there's a lot of people that were probably like, "Oh, you're happy, right? You could have like, the Jets won't be good now." Like, no. I really was excited. I'm honestly more of a fan of the NFL than the Bills. I'd rather see good games, that's why we're watching these games. We're not, and to see him go down, oh man, I felt so bad. I was like, no way. I basically had the same reaction as Peyton Manning. I was like, "What? Why is he down?" I was like, "What? You just got sacked."
Peyton Manning, by the way, hates Zach Wilson. That might be.
I know. He doesn't even know that he played on the Jets.
Dude, I also hate Zach Wilson.
He was like, "Wait, Wilson's." Okay, so basically, all right. I've seen so many things. I didn't even want to win at the point of when it was like 13-all. I thought that the Jets deserved to win the game because of their defense, and that if we squeaked out a win, we would feel bad. We'd be like, what a pathetic win. What a gross win. Like, we would not even be happy about it. And I know us because we did it so much last year. We had these little ugly wins, and no Bills fans were happy ever. So if we won 19-16 in overtime, they would have been like, bro, that was horrible. So honestly, I can lose and just take the punch in the gut and just try to like regroup, because if they won, they would have been like, well, we won. No, you don't win. You guys were horrible. Okay, win that game. Take the loss. Josh, stop being a freaking 7-year-old in your mind and wanting to throw it 80 yards down the field all the time. I just want to bring some. I'm going to bring up quick, if that's okay. Just real quick.
All he had to do was manage the game.
Yeah, all he had to do was manage the game.
Give me 1 second. I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
Okay. So I have. Okay, hold on. This is the second pick he threw. It was 2nd and 12, and he decided he threw it to the left while he. I mean, you have Cook open. It would have been 3rd and manageable. So that's number one. Very dumb. I'm trying here. This is probably the worst one. The last one he threw, 3rd and 2. Number one, you have Diggs. Okay. Number 2, Kincaid is wide open, and nobody's right there to tackle him. Nobody's there. Sauce Gardner was right there, and then he switched back to Gabe Davis. As he switched back to Gabe Davis, Josh decided to throw it to Gabe Davis, and it was picked. Kincaid's wide open, 2 yards easy. Diggs is open over the middle of the field. That's at least 2 yards easy, and you get okay. And it's, by the way, up a touchdown. Then finally, the coup de grace.
And even if Sauce is there, notorious arm tackler.
Yeah, exactly. Notorious arm tackler. Last one. Okay.
God, he just wants it all at once.
The arm punt. 3rd and 8. Okay. Look. You have like at least 15 yards. There's one guy over there. You've seen Josh Allen so many times deke a guy out, a million times. So nobody's stopping you. But your little 12-year-old mind was like, let me just fuck it down and throw it down to the end zone. Why? It's not impressive. We don't care that you can throw far anymore. That was a thing like 5 years ago. No one's impressed. We don't care. And when it lands in the hands of the other team, we're pissed. It was a really putrid effort by Josh. I don't really know if he was like hyped up on like Jude, the hype up thing. He's not learning, from these mistakes. Like he always says, like I got to learn from these mistakes. He's not learning from them.
It's been 4 years.
It really reminded me of that wild card game against Houston when Deshaun had that incredible play. Do you remember that? Okay,
yes,
it was fine.
2020?
2019. Yeah.
19? Okay, yeah. His first playoff game, right?
Yeah, first playoff game. That's okay because you're in overtime against a good quarterback in Houston, and J.J. Watt was on the other side. That's okay, man. That's a learning experience. Basically, he looked the same and a little worse. And he had 3 interceptions. In the Houston game, he had no turnovers. It's now 4 years removed. It's not okay games like that anymore. That's just I don't know what to say. So it goes a lot of ways. Obviously, it's
the Madden curse.
It's it's also the Madden. Like I don't know why he's on the cover of Madden. Like if he would have ever been, it would have been like 2 years ago. But whatever. It's an easy fix. It's easier to tell somebody not to do something than tell someone to do something hard, right? Like he knows how to do everything except he does this thing too much. Like, we need to tell him just like fix those mistakes. Don't play scared because of your fixing. Like at the end of last year, he started making like little check downs because he was scared. Don't be scared. Just you don't need to force balls into pockets that aren't there. And we'll be totally fine. But like he gave the game to the Jets. So I don't really know why he decided that he wanted to do that. The fumble was brutal. Like he got all jittery. A cup of coffee on the sideline after his third pick. I don't really know, but couldn't handle the ball. Then they come down and they like tie it on the doink. And then I was like, at that point, I'm just like, what? I'm like, cool. And then at that, yeah.
Sorry.
And then the 3 and out, and then like the punt was like, that was brutal. I wanted to lose it at that point. I was like, dude, just so dumb. Don't even like. Yeah. So.
I was gonna say I've never seen a ball ricochet like that and still go through the.
I know he hit it so hard. I was like, holy shit. What I will say about that Bass field goal is it won my fantasy game, so I'm 1-0. Like I'm great. They suck. Like I'm.
What won my fantasy game? I had Garrett Wilson in the Jets D, and my opponent had Josh Allen in the Bills D.
Yeah, I mean, our defense played freaking great.
We were like even going into Monday night. The defense was good.
Milano's a beast.
Obviously scored slightly more points, but the defense looked good. Ultimately, I think if Josh can't rein it in and just take what the defense gives him, particularly when you aren't, your defense is not giving up points and you're playing from ahead most of that ball game. A lot of those mistakes were up by a score or two. So if he can't rein that in, you're just going to live by the sword and die by the sword until he figures that out. And they died by the sword. It was he was trying to sling it deep and go for the kill shot like almost all game. It was. I don't know
who he's trying to impress.
By the end of it, it was weird. It was like, why, Josh?
Relax. No, someone said that he gets bored in this offense. Basically, what that means is not like I'm so great bored with how good I am. It's more I don't want to check the ball down. As I showed you guys, like the 3 slideshow things. He's not saying like, oh, I'm so good. Like, I'm bored of this. This is stupid. He's saying, like, I don't want to throw that little check down. I'd rather show off my arm. That doesn't work because Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, and he would always check the ball down and kill you that way. And that would piss off a defense more than anything. So
hot take here. I think Josh Allen this year, based on one game only, so I'm just talking out of my ass, is going to have a Jameis Winston season.
What, like 40 touchdowns, 40 picks?
No, something ESPN like 30 for 30.
Nate, I honestly disagree with you just being a Bills fan. I think that like he's going to patch it up because we're going to force him to patch it up. But I also think that that's going to take a hit on overall production. He's not just going to patch it up, not throw picks, and just throw touchdowns. I think instead he's not going to throw picks and throw less touchdowns. So I don't think that he's going to continue making these mistakes, but I also don't think that he's just going to all of a sudden become like what he was a couple of years ago. So it's annoying to see him or not get better and learn, but you got to grow up. I mean, like when he plays within those sidelines, he kind of plays real. He like thinks that he's like Pat McAfee said it earlier. Like he like gets into this like I can make that 70-yard throw, dude. I've done it before. Like no, you can't. Like what? Like also if you did, that's one touchdown, dude. Like we could have taken the ball down a little bit and then scored.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
it's a weird guy. He's a weird guy. I love him. He's a weird guy.
Josh Allen looked like a deer in headlights all game. But based off of whatchamacallit, last night, if he doesn't continue to improve, I guess hot take, he's not going to be considered a top 10 quarterback after this season.
No, okay, you guys are being crazy. What are you talking about?
It's not crazy.
No, he is because he's top 3, so he's gonna bounce out of the top 10. What are you talking about?
Who's 3? Who's the 2 that you have?
Mahomes, Burrow, and to the top 3 quarterbacks right now. Sorry.
Hurts exists. I think T-Law.
Yeah, he exists in the top 4, bro.
I still like Josh more than those guys.
I would take
Burrow and Josh, the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, were all bad. They're not just not top 3 now.
Mahomes was bad. His receivers sucked.
But I would take
Burrow really bad too, bro. Like, and his O-line was the problem, not him. So
I would 100% take Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen and have no issues with it whatsoever.
I disagree, but that's fine. Getting out of the top 10 is crazy. Like 8, that's still.
I mean, we'll see at the end of the season if he patches it up.
Yeah, well, they'll probably win their 12 games. It's just what it is now.
Yeah, it's rough. And this is what's great about week 1 is we are captives of the moment. And by the end of the season, you don't remember a lot from week 1. It can be a little fluky, but I think there are some things you can take away, and I do expect him to iron some of these things out. I don't expect him to play another game this season where he continues to make like the same exact mistake, kind of like this was, where it's like double cover jump ball, or let me try to fit this in before the safety breaks on it. I think he'll at least pump the brakes after that first one going forward this season.
You'd have to think it goes to his head a little.
But
yeah,
that's one of the worst.
Lee's in the chat, by the way. Shout out to Lee.
Diggs and McDermott were both showing, going like, "Hey, hello, are you using this? Or not?
Yep.
Like, we're not using this."
That was probably the worst opponent that he could continually make the same mistakes against, being a division rival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, their defense is good. It really is. But
it is, but I'm just saying, like, you would think that he would work to fix it, not just keep trying to throw bombs, essentially.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, if you did that against, like, the Vikings, it's okay because you're not going to play him for a while. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was just banging his head against the wall, it felt like, where it was like, just, again, it's a good defense. They're going to get pressure with 4. They're going to be able to cover with 7 and put a roof on you. Just take the check down. Take what they give you. Take little pieces. Get a long, sustained drive going. And
he
help
has like
your
no patience for that.
Yeah, exactly. He just does that.
This has to end now. Why? I thought you were
just got to keep moving. He's got to push it.
That's what Eli was good with too, just knowing to take what the defense gives you. That's why he won so many playoff games.
Same with Brady. Brady was check down God.
Yeah, you want to be on the field you want 7 the Bills to be on the field, not just throw a bomb touchdown and then you're off the field. You want to take up time. He doesn't understand that for some reason.
Yep, 100%.
I'm just waiting to hear John's little Vikings opinion.
Yeah,
it was rough. Yeah, that's what we'll end with before we jump into our quick little week 2 what to watch for. Well, maybe maybe you guys were in LA by 03, he would have.
This guy talks like you, bro.
What, just throwing out like the craziest one-liners?
He does. Not many can slang it like Josh. No, I know. But
well, that's true.
Not many can slang 3 picks like Josh either, man.
That's true. So, the last commiseration we'll do. Honorable mention to the Bengals, who looked awful in a misty little game, and the Steelers, who looked really bad.
The Bengals are so bad. Sorry.
Joe Burrow's 3-1 against the Chiefs and 0-4 against the Browns. I don't know what that is all about. But those are rough games.
The Steelers had one bright spot, in my opinion, just for fantasy purposes. In my IDP league, TJ Watt scored 47 points. So I just want to throw that out there.
TJ was good. Patrick Peterson fell down. Ayuk just shook him out of his shoes. You know, the linebackers were outmatched athletically and from a positioning standpoint most of the game. And you really that was the biggest home loss for Pittsburgh in the Mike Tomlin era, 23 points. So a little difficult to watch, especially for a guy who's been propagating about the Steelers winning the North like most of the offseason. But we'll get back on track. Don't you worry. Pickens needs more targets. Kenny needs bigger hands. We'll figure it out. The Vikes were highly disappointing. We had a whole event. For those of you who don't know, I'm part of Purple and Scold Media, a Vikings group of content creators, and we got together for what we called the first annual Skull Fest at a bar where a bunch of listeners came down. We did a live show. We had a couple of drinks. We got excited. We were talking about how we were going to just beat the piss out of the Bucks. You know, I said Ryan Jensen's not walking through that door. You know, Ali Marpet's not walking through that door. Alex Kappa's not walking through that door. The O-line sucks. Baker Mayfield sucks. Tom Brady's not walking through that door. The defense is talented but depleted. Todd Bowles, you know, 3rd and long, cover 0 in the NFC Championship game. We'll get him one of these times, you know. And additionally, yeah, Bowles is going to bring the heat, but I was thinking, hey, the Vikings have been seeing this type of defense all camp with Flores and Bowles. They run very similar blitz concepts. They're going to be ready for it. This is what I told the people. I told the people 27-10 Vikes. I told the people they were going to be ready. I told the people this was finally not going to be a one-score game and we wouldn't be biting our nails in the second half. And instead, we'd be exhaling all second half and everything would be good. And we'd see great production from JJ and Jordan Addison, and the offense would work smoothly. And we wouldn't run any tight end screens, and we wouldn't run any, you know, we'd have less than 5 CJ Ham targets. And you know, I thought we'd be pushing the ball downfield, stay aggressive. The defense was aggressive, and the defense played well. But the pressure wasn't getting home. The Bucks had blitz counters. We didn't have blitz counters. Baker Mayfield was willing to just throw hot and take what we gave him. Kirk, for whatever reason, was going through his progressions from the top down. They had a free rusher like half the time. O'Connell called a horseshit game. He sold. That was bad. Flores was fine, but the defensive backs need to know where the sticks are. This was a 20-17 games. Yeah, Josh knows about the screens. This was a 20-17 game, and the Bucks were looking to put it away. It was a 3rd and I think 8 or 9. And it's a Brian Flores defense. We're sending a lot of pressure. We're having a lot of guys crowding the line of scrimmage. We're playing off-man coverage to accommodate that. But at the end of the game, on the most important play of the game, the defensive backs need to know where the sticks are. Mekhi Blackman allowed Chris Godwin to catch the 7 route right in front of him, right past the sticks to put the game away. O'Connell called a timeout with like 3:50 to go when Tampa had the ball for no reason at all. The offense only had 3 possessions in the second half. That's not enough. And you give up – it looked like the Giants' playoff game in the second half. You give up a 9-minute, 17-play drive to start the second half, you know, and you left the defense out there because you're starting these possessions with a tight end screen. There were at least 2 tight end screens, and there was a fumble that everybody wants to put on Kirk Cousins. It was punched out of his hands by Ed Ingram as he went to get upfield and zone block to the left. Whether that was play action or that was just outside zone. Another limb of Ed Ingram's screwing a play up was ridiculous. Garrett Bradbury's out. Darisaw missed some snaps. It sucked. Jefferson looked good. Brian O'Neill didn't allow pressure. And Jordan Addison touchdown. But I'm pissed. we're gonna beat the Eagles though.
Yeah, they've Justin Jefferson and the Vikings both sold my parlay.
We're gonna beat the Eagles because, again, we're gonna do the same things New England did to them. Brian
Are
Flores,
you?
same type of defense. We match up well, and we've got more juice on the offensive side of the football. So if Jalen Carter isn't just forklifting Austin Schlottman like a warehouse worker all day, we might have a shot.
I sure as hell hope you beat the Eagles. That would help me out quite a bit.
You know, I hear a lot of maybes.
Elvin sucks.
I hear a lot of maybes in that, and that's just too many maybes to confidently go with the Vikings.
Oh, pick them against the spread. Pick them straight up. Yeah, man. Money line, Vikes.
In Philly?
You heard it here first.
Yeah, it's going to be a Justin Jefferson masterclass.
JJ masterclass.
Three receptions, 210 yards, 3 touchdowns.
It's going to be a Randy Thanksgiving game on the head tops. And you know what else? Jalen Carter, Austin Schlottman's going to be rough. Bradbury probably not going to make it back. Darisaw looks to have cleared. But it's got to be better. O'Connell's got to be better. It looked really bad. Looked really bad for the most part on the offense. Some glimmers of hope. They drove down the field a lot. They dominated the football game. Way more yards than the Bucs. Kirk threw for 344, and they put 17 points on the board. Wild. Sack fumble, Ed Ingram fumble. And then Kirk tried to fit it into a tight window to KJ on the goal line. It was a tiny bit behind him.
I know he does that.
Hit KJ in the chest. They hit KJ in the chest, and he let it get ripped out. And Jamel Dean came away with the pick. And I don't know if you guys saw this highlight, but Justin Jefferson absolutely laid out Jamel Dean on the little interception return. It was probably my favorite play of the game. JJ's helmet came off, and decked him, and he was so pissed. You've got to target JJ more. I know he got 8 catches for $143, but only 2 of those came in the second half. And just target JJ at all costs, especially when the offense stalls. Just get him the football. We didn't see any tunnel screens to JJ. We didn't see any quick game to JJ. It was just a lot of deep route concepts that didn't have time to develop. And I'm pissed. You know what? No.
I don't know. Was it a bad game by the Vikings, or was it a Baker Mayfield masterclass redemption arc 17-0 Buccaneers season?
No, credit to the Bucs for not beating themselves, but they had no business winning that football game.
Future Giant Mike Evans with a touchdown.
Yeah, is this guy like a foreign leader?
Yes. Let's go. We're leveling up in the world, boy.
Yeah, leveling up.
So
they were. Devin White looked really good.
Xi Jinping.
David looked pretty good. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. But it was rough, and I'm livid. At least we get to play like immediately after.
Bro, we got everyone in this. This is what a Tuesday night, yo.
Oh man. Really quick, for those of you who haven't looked at next week's slate, we've each got a game we want to highlight and quickly tell you why. I know Nick's got an early morning. The rest of us probably do as well.
I don't at all.
But he's on East Coast time. Zach doesn't. Hell with Zach. He can go last.
Oh, I got early morning.
Zach's good. But Nick, go ahead. Let us know the week 2 game you're looking forward to the most.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm probably going to the Bills games for that one. But,
oh, that's yeah.
No,
Probably
I'm not going to say that one because that's weak. Let's see. Dude.
Don't steal mine, please.
Dude, what are you're gonna say? Fucking Giants, Cardinals? Come on.
Oh no! I'm not saying that game at all.
I got Chiefs, Jags.
God damn it.
Okay, fine. I won't say that. You say that. I'll say Ravens, Bengals.
Cool.
What the hell, man?
Is that yours?
Nate, wasn't yours?
I had 2. because I consider
okay.
them.
There's not
tied.
that many good ones.
Okay, yeah. Just do your other one because then we have 4 different ones. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, my prediction?
No, just what
Oh,
or
what to
so
expect from
you're on
Ravens-Bengals?
Ravens Bengals.
I
Nate,
expect
yeah,
much
why should the people watch this game? I guess is a good way to put it.
Ravens-Bengals. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
division game, and Burrow needs to bounce back. And if he doesn't, I think he's going to. So it'd be Lamar Burrow, like that's electric. We just saw him in the playoffs, right? Oh no, we didn't see him in the playoffs. Did Lamar not play in that playoff game? He didn't play in
No.
that playoff game.
No, I wasn't really show.
Okay, so we finally have Lamar versus Burrow, which is great. You know, great defense in Baltimore, a great offense, I guess, in Cincinnati without a good offensive line, but that's fine. I'm really excited. Like I think that AFC North showdown is always fire, whether or not Lamar plays Tyler Huntley. So I think this is gonna be high scoring. I think it's gonna be like 27-24. I love that game. That's the game of the week.
Yeah, should be fun. That division's fun to watch. Nate, who you got?
Well, I did have a tie, but my one half of the tie got picked. So the other one was Falcons Packers, just because I'm curious to see on a team that should end up having a better defense, what Jordan Love's going to be like moving forward. So, I'm super biased, obviously, but in no shape or form was Jordan Love the main reason they won that game. So Packers fans can come back down a little bit and, have some realization, and we'll see how this week goes. And yes, I'm a salty ass, but
yeah, this will be a really fun game to watch if you like to watch teams run the football. The Falcons really don't want to throw. The Packers might kind of want to, but they shouldn't. And not saying they shouldn't. They should lean into the running game, though. You like Aaron Jones as a pass catcher as well. You saw Jesse Bates for the Falcons pick off a first-year starter twice last week in Bryce Young. And some of those other additions to that defense, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett's playing really well. It's a pretty decent group, and I like this matchup. I think both of them have some question marks and maybe even some shortcomings at quarterback, but they're like hard-nosed football teams outside of that. So that'll be a fun game to watch. I like that one a lot. Keebler, who you got?
So for mine, I have
Chiefs.
There we go. So for mine, I have the Chiefs and Jaguars. I think that positionally, there's a lot of good matchups. In terms of just like position battles, like you have two young running backs in Pacheco and ETN going against each other. You have potentially Kelsey and Evan Ingram going against each other. You have
Mahomes and Lawrence
and Patrick Mahomes. Thank you. In a rematch from last year's playoff game. So I just think that this is going to be a very exciting game. If Travis Kelce isn't back, I have the Jaguars winning that game. But I think what we saw from Calvin Ridley in his first game back from however long that suspension was, just go out and dominate. I mean, it was a weak Colts defense, but just go out and torch. I think that the Jaguars have a very strong case to be one of the better teams in the NFL, and I think that it's going to be a great game against Mahomes and the Chiefs.
I agree.
Yeah, could be some fireworks there. That'll be a really fun one. Mine is a defensive battle. I'm going with Jets Cowboys. This could be the two best defenses in football. Probably the two best performances from last week. It's two really good groups, I think, and we'll see too. Like if with a full week of preparation, getting the first team reps. How does Zach Wilson look? Do we see any inklings of improvement from him being a starter last year? I'll kind of give him a wash in week 1. I'm not going to put too much stock into it just because he was just thrust out there. He was in no way prepared to play. Hadn't been getting any of those first team reps. And just 4 plays into the game, all of a sudden he's thrown into action, and he did fine. He wasn't a game changer out there, but he managed the game all right. Had the 1 turnover. But ultimately did enough to win. I think we could see it'll be a real litmus test with the Cowboys pass rush and then Diggs and Gilmore. But I think at the very least, if you like defensive football, you'll like this game. I think the Jets could give Dak some problems. As long as it's close, I'll be happy. But 2 1-0 teams, 2 great defenses, so that's a good one to watch, in my opinion. Those are the only ones we want to highlight. We will be live again next Tuesday. At least the 3 of us. We might, depending on how the weekend goes, I'm sure we'll have a couple other members of the Bite Size Sports team on with us. But until then, you can catch all of us various places on the channel. Keebler might be getting a betting show going soon. We've got fantasy shows with Trevor Steinbacher and Dan Portillo on Wednesdays and Friday nights. We've got The Bounce, if you like basketball, on Thursday nights with Kevin James.
And I'll be there also.
And Keeb will be there too.
And Keeb will be there this Thursday. Ooh, if you like Keebler or basketball, tune into The Bounce on Thursday night. You can catch Nate running the Bite Size Bears podcast. Soup, what's up, buddy?
Colby, I do. Thank
Was
you.
with us at Skullfest.
Hey, he's got to be up at 5. I got to be at 5:45. Soup, get to bed, bro.
Soup. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for tapping in.
Thanks.
James, what's up, buddy?
You still up?
You can catch Nate running the Bite Size Bears podcast on YouTube and Spotify. You can catch our Bite Size Colts. Bite Size Vikes is where you can find me as well. Actually, my co-host Josh and I will be recording right after this, and that episode will be live tomorrow. For the most part, we'll have those episodes out to you twice a week, game previews and game reviews. But until then, thanks for everybody who joined us in the chat. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, helps us out a ton. And we will see you next week, same time, 9/8 Central, right, Bite Size Sports.
I just wanted to promote one more thing.
Oh, plug.
If you guys want, I just started, if you guys are into basketball, specifically the Knicks, I just started up my Twitter for that account. The handle is right there. Right now I'm running a giveaway for 2 RJ Barrett cards and a Jalen Brunson, and the winner is drawn when I hit 50 followers, so that would be greatly appreciated. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you,
Colby. We'll see you then. Appreciate you tapping in. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Justin. I agree. He's a Philly fan too. I don't know if you've seen him on the Bounce.
Well, we're stealing your center.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys, for tapping in. We'll see you right here, same place, same time next week, Tuesday. Skull Bites,
everybody.